Hi, everyone. This is Kelly with Two Broads Talking Politics, and I am on the line with Micky Jordan and Jade Brooks from a group called Southerners on New Ground. Hello, Micky and Jordan.
Hey, how are you?
Hey there, Kelly. Thanks so much for having us on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. And since I'm trying to get better at doing this anyway, what are your preferred pronouns?
So this is Micky. My preferred pronouns are he and him.
And I'm good with she and her. This is Jade.
Okay, great. And I also use she and her. Terrific. So let's start with talking about what is Southerners on New Ground.
Right on. Southerners on New Ground is a 25-year-old LGBTQ liberation organization based in the U.S. South. This year is our 25th birthday. We like to joke we can rent a car. And we were founded in 1993 in North Carolina by 3 white lesbians and 3 black lesbians to be a political home for LGBTQ Southerners to fight for racial and economic justice. So we see our work very much as the founders saw it back in 1993 as thinking about what it would mean for the factory working dyke to see their liberation as caught up with the drag queen, with the single mother, with the farm worker, and with somebody facing police violence in the U.S. South. And since then, we've been, fighting for queer liberation, racial and economic justice, and fighting for our people to get free.
The only other thing that I would add is that recently, like within the past year, we've taken on a regional demand of trying to end money bail across the South. But yes, ever since last year when we did this action with the National Bailout Coalition called the Black Mamas Bailout Action, we've seen the destructiveness of the money bail system for folks who are just stuck in jail because they can't afford to get out. It could be as low as, bails have been as low as $50 to $100, and the people just don't have any money and they can't do anything about that. So we've been engaging in campaigns throughout our region with different sites to try and end the money bail system, and then we're using this action to specifically highlight how Black women have been impacted by this.
You know, a lot of people talk about intersectionality and sort of working toward being more intersectional, but it sounds like this is something that is sort of the basis of what you're doing. So, we don't think of the South typically, stereotypically as a great place for liberal ideas and for LGBTQ folks, for people of color. So what do things look like on the ground right now? To what extent is that stereotype something that's true, or are there places that are actually much more welcoming?
This is Jade again. I think the South, like many of our communities, is a patchwork quilt of different kinds of people trying to make a life. It's a region of both great despair and also historical trauma, the legacy of white people stealing land from indigenous folks and the legacy of chattel slavery towards Black people in the U.S. South is part of the historical trauma that we live with. And the South is also a region of great organized resistance and resiliency, of hundreds of years of resistance to slavery and to other forms of racial discrimination and economic discrimination. So we really see our organization and our movement as part of the legacy of organizers, of cultural workers, of freedom fighters who've been committed to the South as where we build family, where we build community, and where we fight for our freedom. I think that, it's there. Certainly right now, we have plenty of fires to put out in our organizing work to the money bail and cash bail system that Micky Jordan was just speaking about, as well as this past week in our region, we've seen a number of raids towards immigrant communities by ICE that have been really terrorizing people, and people have been using all the best of community organizing to respond and to fight back and to support their communities. But certainly we have our work cut out for us.
Yeah, and what we also know is that these issues are not isolated to the South, and that with all the legacy, the complicated legacy that we have in the South, we also know that we don't want to abandon it because of how close-knit our communities can be. So we have this long history of organizing, which has been a lot more helpful, I think, than in some of the other areas of the country which might not have that same experience. So I feel like that's a big benefit of the South, the fact that people are very aware of their own life experiences and very aware of how they want them to change and shift.
And so you talked some about this work that you're doing with bailouts, but what are the other kinds of projects you do on the ground? What does this work look like?
Yeah, so we have 5 key methods that Song uses to do our organizing. Let's see if I can remember them on the fly. This will be a test, Kelly. One is direct action campaigns. So that's where we think about our campaigns we use the bailout as a tactic in order to draw attention to the money bail crisis, particularly in Black communities and in poor and working class communities. But the long-term vision is to fight through direct action campaigns to end money bail across the Southeast. That's one of our methods. We also use coalitions and alliances, so we're blessed to be in coalition as part of the Movement for Black Lives, fighting for Black liberation across the world, as well as with a group called Mi Gente, which is a Latinx progressive political home. And as well, our sort of newest coalition alliances with a group called Agitarte, which is a Puerto Rican artist collective that has done wonders to skill us up around cultural work and cultural organizing. That's another method we utilize along with our communications and political analysis. The fourth one is base building. So Song has long been an organization that seeks to build a political home and a kinship network among LGBTQ people, specifically Black people, people of color, immigrants, poor and working class Southerners, trans folk, queer people, parents, etc. So we see our base building work as part of developing that kinship network. And the last one, I believe, is political education. So really seeing our work to educate ourselves and others using the best popular education tools around the conditions that our people are facing. One of the ways that we build out our kinship network and also get to that political education is through our convenings. And these days we have about 5 or 6 convenings. One is our annual membership meeting where we come together to bring our members together and strategize, kind of skill up and figure out new ways to grow the work. Another is called Gaycation, which is our annual kinship gathering. That's kind of what it sounds of, like rowdy, scrappy summer vacation. For many of our members, this is the only vacation they'll have in the year. So we tend to gather, also finding some safety in numbers, being out and, nasty and beautiful queer and trans folk in the South. It's kind of exciting to be together. Like over 125 people usually come to different campgrounds or camps across the South. We also have a coalition and alliance gathering called Out South, which brings together other LGBTQ grassroots organizations working towards racial justice. And then this year, this is like our 4th or 5th year of reviving convening from the early 2000s that Song used to hold called Bayard Rustin, which is our people of color convening. And this year we're also having specific space for white Song members to gather to better skill up and strategize how we need to intervene with white people in this time. So that's called Hog Mountain. So you can see running through another one of our methods is very much leadership development. We actually kicked off this year with a regional cohort called The Lord's Work, which is a specific space for Black leadership development. So that's something else we're investing in this time to be able to bring our Black membership together and really invest in folks knowing each other and gaining the skills they need to fight better for freedom.
Yeah, and we also launched 2 other programs this year to help more integrate our members and see what's going on in their specific chapters or sites. So we have something called the Free from Fear electoral experiment. Those are proposals that any of our members can bring forth to figure out how we can use electoral justice tools to try and win fights in their local areas. And it's the first time that we're trying to do something like that, and we just want to see where people are at and what they have working on, what they're currently working on. And we also have another program called the Member Initiated Project. We used to have something similar, so it's kind of like a relaunch. But basically, we're using a lot of those methods for people to apply to win $5,000 to do a project that like feels like is important to them and matches with song's values.
So you've mentioned several times things around membership and your members. How big is the membership of Song?
That's a great question. So our membership is kind of constantly evolving. One of our former co-directors, Paulina Helm Hernandez, has a quote she used to kind of drill into us in training, which is, if we're not growing, we're dying. It's kind of how we think about our base building. So currently we have about 4,000 members and supporters across the Southeast. But we have a goal this year, our 25th birthday, to grow our membership by 500 members. And then we also talk about another form of leadership in our organizations called member leaders. These are people that's how I came into Song actually, as a member leader, folks who are actively organizing, 5, 6, 10 hours a week in their community, be that through a campaign or be that as just a cultural kind of hub as part of some of our working groups. So our member leaders, we have about 80, and we want to grow that, double that number this year to about 150. So we are on the road a lot, burning that rubber, finding our people, trying to bring as many tools and opportunities to get plugged into the work as we can throughout the region.
And how do people become members if they're interested?
Ooh, my friend, all you got to do, bunch of easy ways. We got a paper form we could mail you, or you can visit our website, southernersonnewground.org, and there's a little button called membership where you can just sign up right there.
Yeah, and there are song chapters and crews in a bunch of different cities and states in the South. So, like, a lot of times folks will find each other and then become members that way through the forum or the website. People, like, find each other and then build new crews or, like, chapters together. So, like, it happens in a lot of different ways.
And if we have listeners who are interested in the work you're doing and want to support it, but who themselves either don't live in the South or aren't LGBTQ, what's the best way for them to help out the work that you're doing?
Great question.
Yeah. Like, so one thing right now we would love people to do is to donate to our Black Mamas Bailout Action Fund. So the link is bit.ly/FreeBlackMamasFund-18. And if you donate to that, you can be whoever you want to donate to that. We're trying to raise money so that all of our sites who are bailing people out have the money to then go and find folks to bail out. And then we can use this action to like highlight how the bail system looks in different areas, and also use this action to make sure that like Black women and caregivers are able to get back to their families for Mother's Day.
We have a bunch of political family who don't live in the region, whether they're Southerners choosing to live far from home or folks who just believe that a liberated South is the answer to a liberated country. So, as Micky said, donations are always welcome. And we also have a number of working groups that help build the infrastructure of the organization to support our on-the-ground work. So one of those is our Make It Rain team, our grassroots fundraising team, which a bunch of our members live outside the region but are down to help us fundraise for our work throughout the year. Another team is a new team called Digicom. So these are the best graphic designers, media mavens, writers, editors, folks who have an interest and skill in communications. That's another way to get involved. And finally, another team that we're building out is our multilingual justice team. So specifically for people who are bilingual or multilingual, this is a great way to help support the organizing through translation, interpretation, skilling us up around language justice.
So we're in kind of a strange political time right now, of course. You talked about sort of political education, organizing around that as being part of your mission. Are you getting a sense from people right now that there is fear around the political situation? Are people becoming hopeful around what might be possible in 2018? Do you see more people stepping up in terms of political action within your group?
Yeah, I think this is a tremendous time of possibility for our movement, and we're seeing people, from all different walks of life say yes to putting their hands on the plow and coming more closer to the fire in our organizing work. So definitely, I think there's a lot of possibility in this time and a lot of responsibility for us, especially those of us who are white, to get our people and to combat white supremacy as it exists in every part of our political system at present. So I think it's a combination of political education, but also of our organizing. I think campaigns and some of our direct action organizing are also a way in this time where people feel like that they have some power to fight back on the local level, on the state level, or on the national level to really see that the change they're asking. And we started sort of a guiding question for all of our work is around